Now the question is, why do we need all this? Life was going fun. We were playing music in the flute, and why do we have this bald guy sitting here and one more series of lecture?
Only you are learning flute? No, that is not enough. You need to explore other instruments too. If you do not know the other instrument, it's very difficult to accompany with them or understand how the instrument sounds. So my request is you should listen the main other instruments also. Okay, the main part of rhythm here we all struggle like in metronome, what is Taal, but you seen when we are running the Batal, everyone is in a correct rhythm. So rhythm is inside us. To understand is that part, how easy way to understand, that is the reason Ananda is here and he will help us to in the journey of learning rhythm. Over to Ananda.
Thank you, Krishna. So you can hear me through this mic, okay? It's coming on the speakers. Okay. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. So once again, thank you very much, Krishna, and big thanks to all of you for coming here on a Sunday. I must tell you, you have a very kadak teacher. And in music, sometimes that's exactly the kind of teacher you need to make the most of it. I'm here to talk about Taal, and I'll speak a little bit about my own instrument as well. But I'd like to start off the session with a question that I got from one of my students a couple of weeks back. It was a total curveball of a question, and he asked me, is it necessary that music needs to be in one's blood to learn this properly? So I think I'm going to keep this closer. Yeah, this is better. And that question truly got me, and I was thinking for a bit before I gave him an answer. And I'd like to share that answer with all of you also, that human beings are inherently musical. We are born with music. The very first rhythm that we are exposed to is our own heartbeat, and even before that, the beating of our mother's heart. And truth be told, if I could compare the musicality in human beings as some kind of a frequency, some people have it a little weaker, some people have it a little stronger. And we have successfully designed our society to suppress that signal. Go to school, go to college, get work, buy a house on EMI, and then one day die. This is the cycle which we are used to. But there are a handful of people where this frequency is very high, and this societal norm has failed to suppress that frequency. Those are the ones who eventually become musicians, and I feel very fortunate to be amongst one of those. 20 years of IT industry couldn't kill the music in me. I'm very thankful for that. So that said, coming to why we all are here, so I think I'm just going to hold a mic in the hand, it's easier rather than this. Check. Yeah, it's lighter to hold the mic than the entire stand. I'm sure all of you would have heard this word, percussion. Have you heard of it? And the minute you look at this instrument, people say, oh, this is a percussion instrument. Do you know what is the meaning of the word percussion? Very fancy, posh sounding word. When you start saying, oh, percussion, everyone thinks, well, big deal. Percussion simply means when two objects collide and make a sound. That's all there is. It reminds me, brings back a childhood memory. In my English textbook, there was some poem where some kid was eating porridge. And we used to think it's a really fancy vilaiti thing to eat. And my English teacher said it's dalia, and we were heartbroken that day. So percussion is pretty much like that. It sounds very complicated. It's nothing. It's just when this sound is made. And when this sound is made repeatedly in equal time intervals, then you get a new word which is called rhythm. Rhythm is repetitive in nature. And the word Taal is the Indian translation for rhythm. They're all very simple things, but then we've managed to make it very complicated for no reason. So this is Taal and rhythm. I hope you're with me so far. Now, if something is happening and following a time signature, it has to happen at a certain pace, which is very obvious. And we don't use the word speed in our world. We use the word tempo. When I started learning music, I finally realized why the vehicle is called tempo traveler, because it's a fast traveler. That's the meaning of that brand. And tempo means lay in Indian classical music. That's the Indian word for tempo. The speed at which you play or perform music. There are three big fundamental laya in our world. We have the vilambit laya, which is slow. We have the madhya laya, which is medium. And we have the drut laya, which is fast. And as soon as I say we have pace, I'm sure there will be some technical minds here. Oh, we need a unit of measure to measure this pace. So our unit of measure is BPM, which is beats per minute. How many times you hear the same thing in 1 minute? As simple as that. So whenever you look up in YouTube or you Google something and it tells you a certain composition is at 70 BPM, it simply means that if this knocking sound is repeated, it will happen 70 times in 1 minute to match the beat of that song. Make sense? Now the question is, why do we need all this? Life was going fun. We were playing music in the flute, and why do we have this bald guy sitting here and one more series of lecture? Well, it's all nice to have the most luxurious train and bullet train and this and that. It is only a piece of art sitting in a corner if there is no track to run it on. So consider the Taal as your track on which the train of music runs. It can be any train, it can be a goods train, it can be a passenger train, it can be a bullet train, but the track remains necessary and same, and it will always be there until the journey is over. You cannot have track only for half of the journey and then say, "Acha, go on the field somehow." It won't work like that, right? So that's why we need rhythm and we need Taal. Okay. Another interesting thing came up in one of my music classes. You all of you were playing so beautifully to Kaharwa Taal. Kaharwa Taal is the 8-beat cycle. You all know that. One of my students said, when Kaharwa exists, why are you teaching us Teen Taal, which is 16 beats? Since childhood we are learning 8 into 2 is 16. So if 8 is there, why do we need 16? So the simple analogy is different scenarios call for different solutions. For instance, now visualize this. The pajama of the night suit is structurally exactly same like a formal trouser. Two long pipes, a waistband, and maybe pockets. But unless your name is Mark Zuckerberg, you can't wear pajama to a board meeting. You have to wear a formal trousers and you will go. And when you sleep, you generally cannot sleep in trousers. It's very uncomfortable. You need something more comfy. So, the Kahrwa Taal exists for a complete different genre of music, which is light music, classical, devotional, semi-classical. And then there is the traditional classical orthodox music, which requires another style of the same cycle, which is a lot more formal, and that is where we have Teen Taal. This is exactly why you don't hear Teen Taal being played in filmy songs. Imagine Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, all the songs playing in Teen Taal. Audience will start throwing their chappals onto the screen because the music will not make sense. Now imagine Pandit Bhimsen Joshi ji singing his bandish to Kahrwa Taal, again the same reaction will come because it will not make sense. Because the compositions are designed in such a manner that they require these specific kinds of beat patterns to support them. So before continuing, I want to tell all of you, I don't want this session to become one big monologue. So please feel free to interrupt me wherever you have a question, and I'll try my best to answer it. The worst case, I'll tell you I don't know. What worse could happen? I really don't know everything there is to know. I know some things, and I'm here to share that. Who can tell me what is sum?
The first beat of a rhythm.
Very good. So the first beat count, beat number 1 of any tal is called sum, right? And in our world, sum is sacred. Our entire goal of playing everything is to finish a cycle and arrive on sum. Have you noticed we never end our composition on the last beat of the tal, and we always end on the first beat of the next cycle? The reason for that is less to do with the arithmetic and more to do with our sentiments and culture and tradition. If you notice, in the this has been forever, right? I don't want to put a timeline on it. Whenever your elders bless you, and especially the elders that you like who bless you and give you money also, so they always give you 501, 1001. There is that extra 1 rupee added. Do you know why that's added? That 1 rupee is the blessing. So it's a symbolism that says that may the growth in your life continue. If they give you 500, it appears that okay, we don't want you to get any more than 500. Tum isi layak ho. But that's not how you bless people. So you want them to have more. And that philosophy has sort of seeped into our music. So when we finish our music, we always end it on the first beat of the next cycle, saying that okay, if we don't have anything more to say, but we want to keep the door open if anyone wants to expand upon this. So that is why sum is sacred in our world, right? And do you know, you were doing this Tali and Khali, you know why we do this? Now this I am telling you from a tabla player's viewpoint, that why do we do this? So normally the people who are associated with music, they understand that okay, somehow we are tracking the cycle, right? We clap once, we wave once. And in our world, we call it the Tali and the Khali. The reason for doing that when you recite a tal is you're symbolically telling the listener that this section of the tal has more prominent bass sound. And the section of the tal which has less prominent bass sound, that is where you show the khali, right? So when you were reciting Kahrwa Taal, so you were saying Dha ge na tin na ke dhe na. Dha ge na tin na. So like this you are doing. So the first part has more bass, so dha ge, and the second half has na ke dhinna. Very less, only one dhinna is there bass. So that is why you show the khali. This is how the tal is structured, which we call vibhag. Make sense? And other than Keharwa Taal, you have Teen Taal, you have Rupak Taal, you have Dadra Taal, you have Jap Taal, all these different, these are the most commonly known ones. They are classified into something known as a jati. Ever heard of this? You have 5 jatis in our music. You have Tishra, Chatushra, Khanda, Mishra, and Sankirna. This whole concept of jati is actually borrowed from Carnatic music, where it is implemented in a lot more granular detail. In Hindustani, it's a very high level, implementation just to identify the cycle. If you take a theka and divide it into 2 equal parts, and not in fractions but whole numbers, so that is what decides what jati it falls in. For example, if you take something and you can make divisions of 3, that comes into Tishra jati. When you make divisions of 4, it comes in Chatushra jati. And when you make divisions of 5, it comes in Khanda jati. And then 6 is covered in Tishra jati, so that you don't have a separate one. 7 is Mishra jati, and 9 is Sankirna jati. 8, of course, goes back to Chatushra jati, right? Any questions so far? So there's a very interesting observation I had about these jatis. In our country, in the beginning of my talk, I said we are inherently rhythmic creatures. Every region of our country also has an intrinsic rhythm, and it's a very fun observation that our country has Tishra Jati, Chatushra Jati, and Mishra Jati as the fundamental rhythm from Himalayas to Kanyakumari. I'll just quickly demonstrate that. All the coastal regions, starting from Bengal to all the way to south, up to where does the coast end? Somewhere in Gujarat. It is all Tishra Jati. The entire folk music is running on Tishra Jati. So when you deeply observe the rhythm, you can match it to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let me demonstrate this to you. I know this is a very big statement, so unless you see proof, there's a good chance you might not believe it. So let's see. So let's start with Kolkata. So, Krishna का program है तो कोलकाता से शुरू करना. So the typical folk beat that you hear most often that side of the country. One, two, three, four, five, six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you sit in your boat, come down south. Then after leaving Krishna, then you come to my state, Tamil Nadu. So this is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Then your boat crosses the curve, goes to Bollywood, Mumbai. So in Mumbai, the street music typically sounds like this, Like this. This is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we go to Gujarat for Dandiya. So All 6. Now, all the regions that are landlocked, there is no water body around. For some reason, they are all Chatushra Jati. So, पानी नहीं मिला तो एक extra मात्रा जुड़ गया. So, you go to UP or MP, folk music is. You go to Punjab, the folk music is. Now we've covered 80% of the country, so all the coastal area Tishra Jati, all the landlocked area Chatushra Jati. The people who live high up in the mountains, they are the crazy bunch, so they prefer Mishra Jati, 7 beats or 14 beats. So all the Pahadi type music, so they all run in the 7 beat cycle. So this is pretty much from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, this is the music of India. And so I hope I was able to convince you that this is how it is. And this is a small observation which I had, because like I said, inherently we are musical. Oh, sorry. Check. So like I said, we are musical inherently. So this is how the what ingrained rhythm in all of us, it comes out. In fact, all your music which is also considered mountainous terrain like Afghanistan also, they all run on 7 beats. The typical Arabic music extensively runs on 7 beats. So if you're listening to any Arabic song and you're tapping your feet like this, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1. So that's how it goes. And I used to think that 7 beats is very orthodox classical music thing, and I might never find commercial music. I was surprised Bollywood is filled with 7 beat music, and that's one of the most melodious set of music that I have heard. The most recent 7 beat creation that came out of Bollywood is this Hrithik Roshan movie called Agnipath. In that there is this Sonu Nigam song Abhi Mujh Mein Kahin. That's a 7 beat song. And before that you had another iconic movie called Khuda Gawah. It had all 7 beat songs. And then you have the older movies like Abhiman, which has 7 beat songs. Teri Bindiya Re is 7 beats, right? So this is how music is spread in our country, right? So I'm constantly referring to my talking points so that I don't miss anything and all the interesting stuff. Now I want to talk about the instrument itself. This instrument. To the lay person, when you see this, you know that this is the tabla, right? But the tabla player calls only this as the tabla. The left side drum is typically called the baya. It's called the baya because 99% of the people play it with their left hand. And baya is the Hindi word for left. Right, and this adds the bass to the whole music. All right, it's a little overview about how it's made. You see that the small drum is made of wood, and the big drum, the bass drum, is made of metal. These days you have steel as an option. Earlier it was copper and brass, which was commonly used. And even before that, it was earthen pots. But then they were not durable, as it is obvious. If you travel with them, they would break. So the brass and copper came to be the more reliable ones. And people prefer to use teak wood for the tabla. And then you put goat skin leather on top for the membrane. And you see this black spot here? This is called syahi. Syahi literally means ink. And it used to be made with metal fillings and rice paste. I don't know what paste they use now, but then traditionally it was rice paste, and it is still applied by hand even today, and layer by layer by layer. So if you look at it closely, you'll see some concentric circles, because it's one layer, it will dry, then the next layer, then the next layer. The purpose of putting this is to get the resonant sound. So when I play, so the sound that stays in the air for some time, that's because of this shahi. If they don't put this, it'll sound like a dholak. It'll have a flat sound, right? It's the same thing here as well for the dagga. And you have these leather straps and these wooden pegs. It's not too much of a complex instrument to make as such. But let me tell you, it's quite a formidable headache to keep it in tune. It is very sensitive to the weather. Weather changes, skin will tear. Suddenly, monsoon happens, the skin absorbs too much moisture, sound will go. It has been, so many instances have happened where on stage it loses tuning, and tabla players have to stop mid concert, and then you, where is it? Oh yeah, you use a hammer like this to beat it back to tune, and hopefully get there without wasting too much time, because then the audience starts getting restless the minute you stop mid concert doing this tuck 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 tuck. So normally tabla players like to carry more than one tabla with them. You'll In concerts you'll see there'll be one standby behind them just in case something happens. And many of the bigger artists, they have the luxury of a couple of students who are backstage tuning the thing and keeping it ready. वो गुरुजी बोलेंगे तो will quickly run and change it, and the show will go on. Anyway, so this is how the instrument is made, and it is still handmade. We haven't figured out a way to mass produce this using machines. Although there are a couple of people in the US who have made some improvements to the instrument for the purpose of tuning. They've mechanized the whole tuning mechanism, where you use a tool, a spanner at the base, and you can tune the entire tabla in one or half twists. It's a very, very cool feature, and ridiculously expensive. So that's the reason nobody knows about it in India. It's $1,500 a piece. So Indians being Indians, we always multiply by the conversion rate, and then you figure out that I can buy lifetime worth of tablas for that much money. And that's pretty much why it's not seen here as often. So any questions so far? You all have been very quiet, and so keep them coming. Yes. Sorry? It's tabla, it's not Maggie. You need specialized craftsmanship for this. Yes, your question.
You said we have Krishna Jati, Mishra Jati, and Sankirna. So in India, which part Sankirna Jati is there? Is there any
I haven't heard any of Sankirna Jati as a bass rhythm in any part of the country. If anyone else is aware of it, please enlighten us. So I have heard only these three. Anybody else?
Is there a bass beat for Karnataka?
Huh. I think Karnataka primarily does mostly in Chatushra Jati. Most of the whatever I have heard locally is Kaharwa Taal based.
Is there a tabla for lefties?
Yes, It's a very specialized technique where you lift this drum, keep it here, lift this drum, keep it here. That's all. There are, okay, now that you brought it up, there are two very well known, globally renowned tabla artists who played that way. One is Pandit Kumar Bose and Pandit Yogesh Shamsiji. They are both, they play the other way. So, so whenever you look at their programs, you probably think, oh, their Android phone was mirroring and that's why you're seeing it the wrong way. It's not like that. They actually play it with the opposite hands. Yeah, yes. Tabla inherently is known as a ek sura vadya. Ek sura vadya means this tabla can produce exactly one note out of the 12 notes that you have. And it has to be the same sound all around the circle, you know. So when I was sitting here, I had tuned this to the D scale. So everywhere it has to be D. If you are hearing 7 notes from the same tabla, you have effectively damaged the tabla. So now to the other part of your question. So what do we do? There are 12 notes, but you say that tabla can be tuned to 1. Unfortunately, you have to carry physical tablas, which is tuned to every different note. Now here's a little hack. Now Indians invented literally, the word jugaad. So the hack here is whatever scale your main performer is doing, you're allowed to tune your tabla either to the sa or to the pa of that scale. So what eventually happens, what we end up doing is that we have 4-5 singers. Somebody's sa is also somebody's pa. So we can use the same tabla for both. So that way you don't have to carry one for every unique singer. You can sort of manage between the Shadaj and Pancham. So this is a little hack which we have. But other than that, the maximum you can play around in tuning is it can go half note up, half note down. Any more than that, the skin will, sort of protest and split. Then your tabla will become a gullak. You can put money and keep. You cannot play.
So hence it's a dual scale like the drums. It's a single equipment with the multiple scales.
Here we don't have single equipment with multiple scales. Like I said, half note up, half note down you can manage. Beyond that, the skin will not accommodate.
But in drums it can.
Yes. So now you're getting electronic versions of tabla where you have a little knob where electronically the sound will change, which are good for light music, ghazal kind of programs. But the pure classical presentations where you are doing bada khayal or sitar, there it is not suited. And let me also confess, when I say it's not suited, it is due to the purest mindset of the artists, not because of any limitation in the instrument. And truth be told, I am also in the camp where I would not play that electronic version for a pure classical program. I would prefer the organic instrument. At some level, the sound somehow does not connect. It is, end of the day, it's a machine. So that whole, the humanness of this sound, it doesn't come in that. But it is perfectly suited for stage programs. I do have an electronic percussion instrument myself, which I would prefer to use if I'm going for a Bollywood night or some kind of program where I have multiple people, multiple scales. I can't carry 24 tablas, so I'll just carry that one rig and turn the knob, adjust the pitch on the fly. No other questions? Here there is. Well, this is applied because human beings have a tendency to perspire. And if the sweat comes and sticks to the skin, this is skin on skin contact, then if I have to do something like this, I'll end up toppling this. So I'll do one expression and somebody in the audience will catch my instrument. So it's better to use powder. That's the only, to reduce the friction basically. So, and sometimes just for the heck of it, we just do it just to make it look like we are all very big learned people, nothing like that. Yeah. No more questions? Very quiet audience today. Huh. Yes, the black actually mutes the sound and the white resonates. So, for example, this is the white and this is the black. And we have the use for different sounds in different occasions. So, when I'm playing a theka, I need the resonant sound. For instance, and when I'm playing kaida, so I need a combination of both. Like this. All right? Anybody else?
This is primarily played in the Hindustani classical or Carnatic music.
This is a Hindustani classical instrument. So, primarily the North Indian style of Indian classical music. Although there have been, nowadays there are instances where people try to mix and match. I have a very good friend who is a Carnatic singer, and I have accompanied his recital on the tabla. So that does tend to happen. Because end of the day, the cycles are identical, it's just the expressions are different.
Why is why is the upper part of the tabla made of some kind of cow or goat leather?
Well, historically, that is the one which is known to produce the right kind of vibrations. In the present day, there are some experiments on with the synthetic material, and it's still in the experimental stage. There are very less early adapters. So, can I proceed further? Oh, there's one more question. Yes.
So, like the violin has been adapted in the Carnatic music.
Huh.
So similarly, tabla has not yet.
Not yet in the mainstream, because we have another fantastic instrument called the mridangam. The mridangam is different from the mridang that the North Indians refer to. That is basically another name for the pakavaj. So the mridangam in the Carnatic music is in itself a very, very complex and detailed instrument with its own beat patterns and sequence, and it's quite difficult to master. So they have something already of their own. So they really don't need another instrument to. There is no gap to fill as such. So whenever you hear a tabla player in a Carnatic concert, 9 out of 10 times the reason is they either couldn't find a mridangam player or they can't afford a mridangam player. This is the reality.
This was invented during what time? Before the Mughals or before?
Now there are, unfortunately, we did not have ISO 2000 back in the day, so nobody really bothered to document anything about this instrument. And there are conflicting stories about the origin of this instrument. There is one story which says that, one rishi was meditating in the banks of the Pushkar Nadi, and he heard, raindrops fall on the lotus leaves. So he summoned Vishwakarma, who in our Indian mythology is considered to be the tools guy. That make me an instrument that replicates the sound of these, drops falling on. So he is said to have invented a 3-drum kit, where one part was kept on the lap and 2 in front, and it was called the Pushkar Trai, because it was conceived on the banks of the Pushkar Nadi, and it had 3 drums. And it is believed that as time passed, many experts of this instrument realized it's actually cumbersome to play 3 drums. So they detached the one which was kept on the lap, and that evolved into an individual instrument called the Pakhavaj. And we were left with the present state of the Daya and Baya. And after that, when the Mughals came, so there was a person by the name Amir Khusro. This is not the Sufi saint Amir Khusro. This is a different Amir Khusro. Other people were also allowed to have the same name, by the way. So that person he was a musician, and he took this instrument, and he was in the Delhi Sultanate of that time, and he improvised on playing on this corner. This is called the kinar or chati, and he developed a style of playing and made some improvements to the instrument, and he people started commonly calling him as Sudhar Khan, because he did some sudhar in the instrument, which eventually, due to mispronunciation over the years, became Siddhar Khan. So Siddhar Khan Dadi is considered the official founder of tabla in its current status of 2 drums, right? And there is a third story which is also very popularly told from the ages, that there was a dholak player, very curious guy. What he did, he cut the dholak in the middle and kept both halves, upright and played. And he is believed to have, said that, "Arey, maine tujhe kaata, tu tab bhi bola." So that's how the name tabla stuck. This is another story. Now, since nobody bothered to write these things down, there was no Instagram back then to make reels and immortalize things. So these are the 3 stories, and what is accepted by all the gurus and ustads is that this instrument that we see today is not a single person's invention, but the result of the contribution of multiple generations of scholars who have used this, who have found something needs to be improved, and they did that improvement. And that is how we are here today, where we see it in this form. So moving on, now I want to talk about how this is used. What is the utility? Primarily, this instrument was always supposed to be a Sangath Vadya. When I say Sangath Vadya, is an accompanist. And if you notice, any concert, the tabla player will always sit to the right side of the main artist, and he'll sit at a 90-degree angle. Today, I am facing you primarily because Krishna has been very kind to give me the center stage. So here I am talking to you. If I was accompanying him, I would be sitting at a 90-degree angle, because my primary duty is towards him and not the audience. So if you notice now, when you go back and watch any concert, you'll see that the tabla player is not facing the audience. And the reason for that is, there is a lot of eye contact going on between the main artist and the tabla player. We are both very insecure in our own spaces, and we have to look at each other and reassure each other, "Oh, you're okay, I'm okay." And then there is a reason why when we get some, we have this, dham, nod and smile. That's not for the audience. That's for each other. Okay, you did not screw up, I did not screw up, we are good, let's do it again. So that's how, the conversation, non-verbal conversation happens on stage. And it's only in the last, I think, 80 or 100 years or so that this instrument has slowly found a very respectable spot in the solo space. Greats like Ustad Ahmad Jan Thirakwa Sahab and the great Allah Rakha Sahab, they brought this to limelight and made this into a solo instrument. Of course, I'm sure all of you know Ustad Zakir Hussain. So he is the most popular tabla player of our times, and we are very fortunate to have lived in the era when Ustad Zakir Hussain has walked this earth. So, as it became more solo instrument, now two styles of playing evolved. Whether you're going to become an accompanist, or whether you're going to become a solo player, or whether you're going to be both. And accordingly, what knowledge you acquire, it sort of decides your path. If you're going to be mainly an accompanist, then your entire focus should be to play the theka right. So you're playing Karwa Taal, then you don't want to do any, unnecessary fancy stuff. So you're doing your. That's all you need to do. And back in the day, the main artists used to frown upon the tabla player showing off on stage. So when you're accompanying someone, the expectation, now I'm talking purely from the tabla player's side. If I accompany someone, we have this discussion in advance in the green room or before getting on stage. And generally all the good artists, they are very, very gracious to give some space where the tabla player also gets to showcase a little bit of their riyaz also. And that should not be too much, it should not be overpowering, because the concert is not a tabla solo. It is, end of the day, it is a flute concert or a sitar concert. So the main artist is still the main artist who's sitting in the center. But then they give these small spaces where you get to do something. Then you take a tihai, come back, and then they continue with their expression. Now, it also serves a very important purpose. When you're doing this, it gives a little bit of breathing space to the main artist. He starts thinking, okay, what should I do next? Because a lot of our music, it is not planned, it is not rehearsed. We don't do sheet music. We sit on the stage, and depending on the audience and depending on the kind of reception we are getting, a lot of ideas come which we implement on the fly, right? So when the space is given to the tabla player to do some little piece or a qaida or whatever, that space, the main artist is playing the sthai in a loop and he's thinking, what should I do next? So many people do this, right? Do we still have time?
Yes.
Okay. You suddenly looking at me. So as an accompanist, my expectation is that, I don't say expectation, this is how I approach accompaniment. I speak to the artist that I'm going to play with and ask them, what do they expect out of me? I have played with artists who have insisted that I should, showcase some stuff. And I have also played with musicians who've been very clear, don't you dare stray from the theka. Because end of the day, if somewhere someone misses the count, it is always the tabla player who gets blamed. Hey, iski wajah se this fellow only spoiled everything. So we have to be very careful, and it's always better to ask. Another question which I commonly receive, as a tabla player, how do you know what raga is being played? It's very simple. I just ask the artist, what raga are you playing? How difficult is that? It's a different thing that when you keep doing it over and over again for a few years, there are a few ragas that you instantly recognize because you've heard it a lot of times. Otherwise, there's no shame in asking. Ask him what raga you're going to play and he'll tell you. Someone decides to play something called Bhinna Shadaj. Half the musicians only don't know that raga. So I just write down that name so that after the program someone asks me what raga was played, I quickly Bhinna Shadaj. So this is how accompanists work. But what I do clearly understand or try to understand is what kind of accompaniment is this artist expecting from me. If they want me to do some stuff in the middle, then we agree on a signal. There has to be a signal. No? The main artist is expanding on some expression. In between, suddenly I crash into the party and do some gad 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 gad. Everybody is staring at everybody else and nobody knows what happened. So that's not how it is done. So what happens is when I'm playing the theka, for example, if I'm sitting with Krishna and he's doing a big some kind of a tankari on his thing. That point, my job is to quietly look down and maintain the theka. Nothing else. Number one, that is tradition and that is respectful. Number two, poor fellow, he is depending on this counting. So if I start doing some circus here, he has a very convenient instrument, he'll turn this way and give me one whack. So that needs to be avoided as a tabla player, right? So you have to maintain the theka, that is your primary duty, and depending on the circumstance, you get to. Now, typically, what happens in a stage show, you have a great musician accompanied by a superstar tabla player. Now, this is where it gets complex. So it is like the two hero Hindi films, if there is a fight scene, everyone gets equal number of punches. 5 punches from this guy, 5 punches from that guy. And nobody can be shown bigger than the other. So like that, they have this understanding, they will have some space where the tabla player will do something, then he will stop and the main artist will continue. This happens more frequently. The simple reason, at least 30-40% of the people who bought the tickets came for the tabla player and not the main artist. Invariably, this used to happen routinely whenever Zakirji used to accompany someone. So the advertisement used to look like Zakir Hussain accompanied by some sitar player. So, because he was such a big personality and rightfully so, and a great tabla player of our era. But then coming back to the main topic, let's not digress, is when you accompany, your goal is to serve the main artist. But when you're playing tabla solo, then it's your playground. You do whatever you want. Then you put a gun to the head of the guy who is playing Laya and tell him, you dare not mess the Laya. And talking about Lehra, it is one loop which keeps on playing in repeat. There's this guy on the side. Typically, you play on a harmonium or a sarangi. And if you're really, really exotic, I've seen one YouTube video where somebody was playing Lehra on a santoor, which is sort of overkill. But then people did it. Playing Lehra is more difficult than rendering a raga. Because in Lehra there is a fixed loop and that's all you get to play. You don't get to play anything else at all. But traditionally, as a symbolism of respect, the Lehra player is allowed to start or open the solo with a solo of his own. 5 minutes, 7 minutes, they'll do some expression and then they get into this loop. And after that, that's it. For the next 45 minutes, they are stuck. Because then it's all about the tabla solo, whatever the tabla player is going to play. So probably at this point, it would be great if Krishna could also join me and share what his expectation is from the tabla player. You need to have both the perspectives. So Krishna, why don't you come over?
Madhu.
So I think the question for you is very clear. If you call me as a tabla player, what is your expectation? What do you want me to do?
No, that is what Dada. I mean, if he is a tabla player, first, we both are performing together. First performance is like we need to understand each other. Means suppose we do not know. Means first time we met each other. If you think like we two friends are meeting each other, so we do not know each other. First, I will tell like Theka. No more drama, no other things. Because those students who have already gone through the Teen Taal, you know very well how difficult it is to fall in the song. And if it is not falling, then the smile.
Then the smile becomes a frown. So you either land on some or you land somewhere else.
maybe Madagascar or somewhere. So it's a crime situation, and one loop cycle, if it is not matched, oh my god, you cannot cannot fix it. It is a crime situation. So first thing is, we do hide that in several ways. We do some, those who knows very well, play ala bistar or something. No, that is actually going behind. We are trying to match. So that is the thing is, first is thika. Then when you say, I can control, I mean, he and me have a good, tight up, not too loose or not too tight. Then, dhire dhire, the things will go like, Dada, you can come. Maybe he is my senior or junior, but that doesn't matter. Age on stage doesn't matter. Dada, you can come forward, and I will go for left. Then the smile will come. You can see the facial expression will give smile. Okay, that means matching. Okay, so that confidence is getting. All is well.
So basically, on the stage, when two artists are playing together, and if one of them says "Kya baat hai," it can mean two things. Either he is very appreciative of it, or he is scolding that "Kya baat hai." So it depends on what the situation is on stage, and the difference between a novice musician and an ustad is not how many compositions you know. An ustad is someone who makes a mistake and makes it look like a composition. Everyone makes mistakes. So how cleanly you exit out of it and continue like nothing happened, that is what decides whether you are a student or not, or you are an expert.
Exactly. You will do mistakes. That is very much sure. But the thing is, when artists will do that mistakes, they will cover it in a shape. Then as an audience, you will never understand. So you are not audience. So that I am saying, you are all students of music. That is the way we do.
So that's when we say "Kya baat hai," and the audience starts clapping, and then okay, and you move on. So I think with that, I have pretty much covered whatever I decided to talk to you about, and I think we still have some time.
Yes.
So I'm still going to keep it open for questions, and I'm here, and please feel free to ask. Don't hesitate, just ask whatever. Like I said earlier, what's the worst that could happen? Yes.
So you have to come to the sum. In case if you are doing some mistake, so
If I have identified that a mistake has happened, then, and since I know the artist very well, I will cut my theka midway and adjust it so that it appears like everything is okay. Or if he notices that I have lost my count somewhere, he will pretend that he is out of breath, take few breaths, and then wait for me to play da tin tin ta, and then enjoy.
muscle memory also plays.
Certainly. So this part we'll have to edit out. All insider secrets we are letting. Yes.
Sir, said if Krishna sir is there, he will turn 90 degree pencil.
I will, if I am accompanying him, then I will sit in 90 degrees to him. Right now we are both talking to you. So if I sit at 90 degrees and talk to you, it will not look so nice.
You can ask anything. We will share the secret. No problem.
So why did you choose tabla? I mean, at what age you realized that this is the instrument for you?
Kya baat. This is in appreciation. Now first let me give you a little philosophical fancy answer. When although I said it's philosophical, it is the reality that it is always the instrument that chooses you.
Wow.
You think that you're spending your money and you're buying this instrument. Oh, I have so much money, I can buy the fanciest tabla, 25,000 rupees, program grade. You go to Haridas Vatkar in Mumbai and get the most expensive tabla you can buy. That won't make you a tabla player.
It's a
right?
blessings.
How many people, you'd be surprised, during COVID times, the largest selling commodity was probably not food, it was the guitar. Everybody and their grandmother thought they will become guitar players during COVID. 99% of the guitars are either in some corner or they're hanging living room, it is hanging as decor. Many people put paintings, some people put as a slanting, they will put on the wall and put some focus light and all. It look nice. It is like those old hunters, after retiring they'll hang the rifle, and whenever some guests come, once upon a time I hunted one rhinoceros with this, and so on and so forth. So the instrument has to pick you. And how did it pick me? As a teenager, well, more secrets coming out. One time I was literally loitering about in school, and our esteemed principal was doing the rounds, and one of the bros in my group, he said, "Arey, principal is on, she'll catch you and you're in trouble." And I quickly slid into some classroom, which incidentally happened to be a tabla class in progress. And 35 years back, schools did not have the luxury of providing, one-on-one instruments. There was one instrument and there was a cue. So for 5 minutes you will play, and I was looking at the door and I didn't realize I had joined the queue, and suddenly the ustad sitting in front of me said, bajao. And I was staring at him completely clueless. I said, I don't know. And he said, you want to learn? And teenager, full of attitude, seeking. So that is how my learning start. But when I started doing this, after about 2 to 3 sessions, something clicked. I felt this is something I can do, and I'm enjoying this. And I sort of started getting pulled into that, thing. And up to my 12th grade, I had graduated to be the default tabla player for the school choir, and wherever we'll go out for programs and all. So I would go and play. And 12th class over, tabla over. Like in all Indian families. Abhi, you have to study, you have to find a job, you have to marry, you have to have children, blah, 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 everything. This was in the year 1994 when I finished my school. And then in 2011, I restarted playing tabla. I'm very fortunate, my wife actually gifted me a tabla set because she was sick and tired of hearing me talk about tabla every time. And so she thought, let me see if this guy means business. So, and as luck would have it, that set, when it came to me, out of the blue, people just happened to show up who needed a tabla player and were not finding, and I started going there. So that's how it came back. So once the instrument chooses you, even if you leave the instrument will not leave you. It will let you settle down in your life, it will come back into your life. And I'm very fortunate that this instrument has chosen me. And that's pretty much the long story of why allegedly I chose. I did not choose this. I could have chosen any other instrument. There are the hundreds of other instruments that to choose from. So it's just that this instrument thought that this person he seems to be okay. he can play a little bit. So let's go into his life. So that's how it is.
Metronome and Nadaswara is accompaniment, right? Like tabla and
The equivalent of Nadaswaram in our world is the Shehnai. And we play tabla with the Shehnai. Bharat Ratna Bismillah Khan Sahab, one of the icons of the instrument, so from Banaras. So Shehnai in sound is the closest match to what you hear in Nadaswaram.
So, Nadaswaram, if you have observed it, it is a very big instrument. The size is very big, and if you have seen, the sound is very high. Then you will understand that what instrument play and what purpose. If you have observed the Nadaswaram, Mridangam, this is a huge sound, huge, and it will play in front of thousands of many people. that time the microphone was not there. If you heard the sound, it will.
So it was
cover-
basically temple music, and the temples were designed, they were acoustically very, very high quality, and so you play it in any corner of the entire temple, it used to resonate with that sound.
And if you have observed, the sound of flute, tabla is very low volume. Now it cannot possible without the other digital or microphone instrument to cover the entire thousand or million people. It is not possible. So that is the reason that you told no, that somebody asked that Carnatic music is specifically played for the temple. The mridangam, it is a very huge sound, and another part is war. This two section rhythm and sound is being used. The war, if you have seen, you might have seen like some people used to do drums and some there's a horror kind of music to give the that what sound matters. It will give the thrill or maybe a bhay, jo bol sakte hain, the terror in front of opponents, and if you and that actually for the reason of the louder sound is played and louder things. It means we have a very big amount of soldier and we have very big strength. So for this reason. Now if you have observed, when you go to the shopping mall and any kind of mall or somewhere, you will see that it's very faster music is rhythm, specifically rhythm. Something will come. Why? Because it will roll your legs more. So you will not sit or stay in a location. You will turn, move around. You will observe the others. That is intentionally given. Now, if you go to any restaurant and you will observe is there any tick 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 tick? No, very silent, peace.
They want you to stay there.
They want you to stay there. And when take the food, the music is in rhythm. Rhythm is in everywhere. If you observe.
I think you've pretty much covered it so beautifully. So I think my answer to her original question was what is the equivalent and they both serve a very specific purpose in our culture. Extreme happy events and extremely sad events both use these instruments. If there is a marriage in the family, in the south it is Nadaswaram, in the north it is Shehnai. And if somebody passes away in the family, again it is the Nadaswaram in the south and the Shehnai in the north. So they're both the extremes. This is the instrument that sort of captures the essence of the emotions that the family is going through and expresses it in terms of music. Yeah. Anything else? So I think I pretty much have run out of stuff to talk about. I've closed my book also. so I think people are now eagerly hoping to get some food.